BNC, 100% black and brown host around the clock. Finally, news that speaks to us.
We need more money. Our voices aren't being heard. Expand voting access. These are all things that were said 30, 40 years ago, and they are still being echoed today by young black men and women. Though the pay gap is narrowing, we're telling our stories across cable networks and social media. In many areas, things have improved, but there's still a far cry from equal. But the answer to how we get there seems to vary by generation. So I want to welcome back now our political contributor, Atiba Madyun, president and founder of Party Politics US, and Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeever, co-founder of Black Max Media. Dr. Avis, starting with you, what factor divides each generation from each generation the most?
Well, I think that each generation experiences life a little bit differently, right? And others who are a little bit older have a deeper, obviously, personal experience in terms of their lived memory. Where younger people, and I think this is true for every generation, the youth of that day tends to be more outgoing, tends to be the ones that want change a little bit quicker, tends to be the one that maybe is reaching a little further and have higher expectations perhaps. And so I think that has to do a lot with the difference in expectations. But it is interesting to see in a number of surveys I've seen where there is a stark generational divide within the Black community with regards to politics and with regards to what they are, what the preferences are for the specific issues they're interested in, as well as their level of patience with regards to creating change. It seems to be absolutely more of we want a more instantaneous version of change right now for younger people. And I think people that are more seasoned are more akin to perhaps being a little bit more patient with the tend towards more incremental change in terms of their expectations.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we're not a monolithic group. We don't all think the same or look the same. Atiba, the need to advance Black excellence continues from generation to generation. But when we talk about the needs of Black people, our 75-year-old Barbara Lee, 45-year-old Cori Bush, and 35-year-old Lauren Underwood, all asking for the same things or representing the same people?
Yeah, asking the same things, and yes, representing the same people. But in terms of what Dr. Avis just mentioned, I think it goes back to patience and persistence and this change and whatever in terms of different generations is one of the things where I think it's really good to have a very good mix between old and young, wise and energy. We stand on the shoulders of giants, some huge giants. I mean, this week, BNC reported on Ambassador Andy Young's 90th birthday, and I had an opportunity to talk with him back in December at the National Black Caucus of State Legislators Conference. And I felt like just talking to him, it was like the passing of the torch. It's up to us to then be out front and to be talking about these issues. But we're also seeing a younger generation that is very impatient. And part of that impatience is because the generation that came before me, before us, pushed the envelope. And they provided a certain level of privilege and entitlement that this younger generation has that my generation may not have had, the generation before me didn't have. So, in terms of Black excellence, Black excellence, I think that it's such a broad term, but overall, it's that we're standing on the shoulders, and sometimes I think we forget that we're standing on those shoulders, but by standing on the shoulders of these giants, not only have we not had the same difficult path, we've been able to see a little bit further ahead because we're a little bit higher up. We can see that promised land almost that Dr. King promised, but we still feel like every time we try to get to it, it gets pushed a little bit further down the road.
Yeah, they keep moving the goalposts back. Dr. Avis, we hear people say it all the time, times have changed, but are we seeing that in legislation in a way that actually counts?
Well, I think that we have had some tremendous growth in terms of opportunity with regards to changes in laws over several generations. But clearly there is much that's left to do. And I think that's the part that makes people very frustrated, particularly right now in this moment, where we have one political party that it seems the only thing that they want to do is stop any movement with legislation. And then you have another political party that has a very big aspirational goal and goals. However, they found it very difficult to actually follow those goals through, largely because they don't have enough power in terms of the level of representation needed in the Senate in order to get their full agenda through. And so that creates a situation where people feel discouraged. Unfortunately, they're like, I voted for something, it hasn't happened, and they're frustrated. I am hoping that people understand that the answer to that question is not throwing up your hands and not voting. The answer to that question is voting with even more power so that there can be larger majorities that can get through the agenda that you wanted in the first place. Unfortunately, the way that our system works, the numbers just aren't there in order to have that overwhelming support that's needed for the big, bold agenda that was put forth with this specific administration.
Atiba, let's talk about Congress. I mean, the average age, 61. How can they, or even those older in Congress, relate to, say, a first-time generation voter in America who's maybe working to help mom pay the bills and raising their siblings, or that 30-year-old student that is just drowning in student loan debt and barely making a living wage with a college degree?
I think one of the things that the younger generation is doing, but we need more of it, is to push some of these older people out of the way. And it's not a thing of saying disrespectfully that your time has come. It's to say, we need your wisdom, but we need your energy. And the older generation needs to kind of move out of the way for that. What we have seen in Congress, it's not just Black leadership, it's across the board. There are people that get into Congress and they just stay way too long. Personally, I'm a proponent for term limits, because people stay and I think that they get so bogged down, they become millionaires while they're in office. There is something very corrupt within the system in itself. But in terms of what we are seeing, for instance, the Obama Foundation, what the former president is doing, he's cultivating a whole new swath. I think there's going to be almost like an army of young people that are coming. People like London Lamar in Tennessee and A.J. Pittman in Oklahoma. I'm seeing these young legislators that are coming in, and they're going into the state legislature. We're going to see them in Congress at some point. We're going to see them as governors of states. But what we have to remember is this. The Republicans in 2008 became very fearful of what an America looked like as a more perfect union when they saw Black and white and women and children, Republicans and Democrats vote for the first Black president of the United States. We've got to focus a little bit more on talking about some of the things that we have made successes on, so that it inspires people to understand why we have to stay in the fight. Because what the Republicans are doing are distracting us with Florida with anti-gay bill, in Texas with anti-voting bill, in Georgia anti-voting bill. We see this all across the board. This is a coordinated strategic attempt to distract us from the fact that we are getting closer to that goal pole, and they know it. This is about becoming a more perfect union.
With that, thank you so much. I wish that we could talk for hours. I could talk to you too all day, but we do have to go. Thank you both for joining us, and we do want to just disclose that Bank of America is a sponsor for BNC.